Alright guys, so we got through the build video and we're almost ready to fly. There's just some final setup details that I wanted to share with you. The first one is the CG. I recommend setting the CG at a starting point of about 5 1/4 inches back from the leading edge by the wing root. So back from about here, measuring about 5 1/4 inches back, not at the tip. Now this will be a pretty good starting point, like I mentioned, and it depends on your type of flying. You ask 10 different guys, they're probably going to tell you 10 different locations of where they put it on this particular plane. 5 1/4 will be pretty safe for most people. If you're a little bit timid about flying a plane like this, then definitely start at 5 1/4 or further up, a little bit further up. If you're pretty confident in your 3D skills, you can start at 5 1/4. Mine's probably set at about 5 1/2. And if you're wanting to do 3D and you're seeing that it's falling out of hover left and right, it's probably a little nose heavy, the nose is wanting to drop out, probably just need to shift it back a little bit. If you're wanting to do more pattern and you're finding that it's not tracking as well as you want, you could always scoot it forward a little bit. A good test to be able to tell where it's at, and if you're happy with it, for me, I fly a 45-degree upline, go inverted, and then if the plane continues to hold with just a little bit of drop off, and that's right about where I want it. I don't want it to be able to, I definitely don't want it to keep rising in the air, and I don't want to really have to hold the elevator down to be able to get the plane to stay going up. Alright guys, the other detail I wanted to share with you is that I went with a single battery setup on this plane, meaning that I went with just one battery. I clipped the lead off of it, lithium-ion polymer, and I soldered on 2 battery leads. So each of those leads will go into their own switch, and each of those switches will go into a regulator of their own. And then from the regulator, one of those regulators goes to the ignition, one of the regulators goes to the receiver. The advantage to doing this is obviously the weight. To get the CG where I wanted it, I've got my receiver battery strapped in all the way towards the back near the rudder servo tray. I took 2 pieces of light ply and I glued those down across the stringers of the fuselage and strapped my battery in there. And I went with a 2200 milliamp battery. You could, if you're not comfortable doing a single battery setup, you could go with like a 1300 milliamp on the receiver and 1000 milliamp or 1300 on the ignition, and you'd probably be about the same weight as I am. I've got one single 2200 milliamp, and I don't even know, I want to say I could probably get about 10 or 11 flights before having to recharge. So honestly, I'm at probably a higher capacity than I really need. But it is an option, and I've been doing this on the planes this size for a while, and I'm really happy with the results. Another feature that I wanted to share with you guys is the JC28 has kind of a cool feature on it, that the choke is spring-loaded, so it always wants to spring back to the open position, so it's ready to run. The choke doesn't end up closing on you in the air and killing your engine. But in order to start the engine, to open the choke, it's set so that the choke is open when the throttle is just barely open. So on my radio, I have to move the throttle forward to about the 3rd click, the 3rd line, and at that point I can push the choke in to where it clicks in place. Okay, so the choke will be locked closed and up against the throttle arm, with the throttle being just slightly open, and then with the ignition on, I'll turn the prop until it pops, sounding like it wants to go. Then you can throttle up all the way and the choke will release, and then you can start the engine and take off and go flying from there. Okay guys, so like I mentioned, when I move my throttle up, you can see the throttle moving here. Okay, when I move my throttle up to 3 clicks, then when I push in the choke arm locks right into the throttle arm. So then you would flip your prop until, with the ignition battery on of course, flip your prop until it pops. Once it pops, all you have to do is throttle up and you'll watch the choke release and go wide open. Okay, just like that, because it's spring loaded. Show you again one more time. I put my throttle to 3 clicks, yours will be different depending on your setup. just under 3 clicks, and then I push this up until it locks in. There will be a little bit of resistance because it's going to kind of push the throttle arm out of the way and then lock in place. Turn the prop till it pops, and then open up throttle, and then lower it back down to where you want to start your engine. Alright guys, well that pretty much wraps up the build video. Congratulations on getting it all put together, and get out there, fly the hell out of it, have some fun. I know I have. I've been enjoying this plane immensely, and it does just about anything I can throw at it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me and tell your friends about it. Fly Redwing RC, fly the best.